Welcome back to the special edition of Automotive Insiders. I'm your host, Jason Stein. Great to have you back listening again. Today, we honor a leader whose impact on the supplier community spans more than 4 decades. Bill Long's career has crossed every corner of mobility, from engineering and motorsports to being the champion of suppliers on the national stage. As president and CEO of MEMA, Bill helped guide the supplier ecosystem through one of the most transformative periods in its history, restructuring the association for future success, strengthening advocacy in Washington, and building bridges across OEMs, suppliers, and policymakers. He's been a relentless voice for innovation, safety, and the critical role suppliers play in the mobility economy. As Bill steps into retirement, we look back on the forces that helped shape his career, as well as the accomplishments that defined his leadership, and the legacy he leaves for the industry he cares so deeply about. We also look ahead to what comes next, both for Bill and for the thousands of companies and workers he has represented with passion and purpose. Bill Long from Detroit at the MEMA Annual Conference on Automotive Insiders.
Well, we're at the center of activity here at the annual conference, and I'm with the man in the middle of it all. I have to think that the amount of pride you have, Bill Long, over what you've seen over the course of the last couple of days here in Detroit is indescribable and immense. Do I have that correct?
You do.
Yeah.
There's obviously a tremendous amount of pride in the team and what MEMA has accomplished, and just to have 14 or 1,500 people that have signed up just shows the relevance and value that MEMA is bringing to the automotive industry. So
at a critical time. I mean, they're all critical times, but this one feels particularly critical when you consider the events of the last year or more. I sort of thought of it yesterday, and maybe you think the same way, that you're providing clarity in the middle of this chaos and an opportunity for people to compare notes on where the world is going. Is that fair?
Yeah, and that's the right word. I mean, you know, we start with a simple vision and mission, which is to advance the business interests of suppliers. And when we think about the issues that they're facing, you know, our relevance really is bringing platforms to provide industry dialogue and greater clarity that allow the supplier community to act with, you know, greater assurance. And particularly in the broad range of possibilities that the industry is facing right now, the uncertainty certainly makes it a lot more challenging than we've seen in the past, you know, several decades. So clarity is a key word for us.
That's today, but I want to talk a little bit about your history and getting here. You've had an amazingly colorful career, and not just at MEMA. You and I had a chance to spend some time at the Automotive Hall of Fame, where MEMA was the lead supporter partner, and you had the chance that night to tell me a little bit about all of the twists and turns that got you to where you are today.
Yeah.
And I think some people might not know that. So what led you to MEMA? I know you're a car guy anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, as we had talked about, my dad worked as a NASCAR official from 1948 until 1975. So I grew up around the automotive industry. My mother worked for a Buick dealership along the way. My dad was a quality control engineer for the Defense Department, so he was in manufacturing. But around cars all my life. I was going to racetracks since I was 4. So right out of high school, the summer that I graduated, I ended up working for a Napa Auto Parts store as a delivery truck driver until I crashed the truck and immediately became a counterman overnight. But that led to, obviously, exposure to suppliers in the automotive industry, and I took a job as a territory representative in upstate New York, calling on Napa Auto Parts stores and repair shops. You know, and Jason, I think that foundation, you really starting from literally the bottom up, gave me a pretty strong background and experience on, a deep understanding of how the industry works. That led me to a number of additional responsibilities. I was in a number of firsts. So I was the first national sales training manager for the company, the first technical service guy answering the phones about troubleshooting disc brakes at the time. And then really took the path through marketing. So between Eklund and the BWD brand, we licensed the Borg Warner brand name and a host of high performance brands. And that led me to a detour to motorsports, where I shared
a sizable one.
Yep, I went to NASCAR for a while, and then was recruited to become the vice president of marketing for the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, but like most of us in the automotive industry, you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. So, so after 5 seasons with IndyCar, I returned back to the industry, and long story short, but that led me to MEMA. The previous CEO was about to be promoted into that position. And he approached me and he said, "Have you ever thought about working for a trade association?" And I thought about it for a moment, and I said, I have thought about working for a trade association. Absolutely no way am I going to work for, what do you people do all day? And I said, I see you running from one end of the trade show hall to the other.
Right.
Is the coffee cold in the member center? What could possibly be so important? and now I know. And a lot of people, Jason, asked me, what is it like to work for a trade association? Yeah. And I've explained it's like working for me. It's like working for a think tank. We start with, again, a mission to advance the business interests of our members. We define what the headwinds are, the mega trends, the strategic shifts, and then it's our job to advance their business interests in the wake of every one of those. So we get to surround ourselves with resident smart people like you, and really do a deep dive into what are the areas that we can really advance their business. So that part has also been very rewarding, just to see the relevance and value that MEMA has brought to the industry.
It's sort of a full circle automotive career to some extent, because you had the incredibly important parts side of the business initially, the complete package with what racing represents in so many ways, whether it's the fan interaction, the competitiveness, the team owners, the teams themselves.
A lot of collaboration too. Drivers, sponsors, tracks, promoters, just
OEMs,
all of that. It feels like I've
back around.
Yeah, it feels like I've had 3 distinct careers.
Yeah.
One on the supplier side, leading Eklund's billion-dollar engine management division along the way, until I ran away to motorsports, and then certainly the IndyCar responsibilities, which in many ways was global in nature. And
you were Dana too, right?
And Dana came. I worked for a company called Eklund, which was primarily an aftermarket-oriented company. A lot of brands, Raybestos included. They were $150 million when I started with them, and when we did a pooling of assets with the Dana Corporation, Eklund was $3.2 billion at the time.
Wow! And
then I became a 25-year vested Dana employee overnight, and stayed to help through the integration and meet the synergies that we all signed up for, and really was part of the strategic business unit that Dana created, really to help them balance their business between OE and aftermarket, so they'd have a more robust, diverse portfolio. So it's a lot of fun.
And then leading MEMA ultimately.
Yes.
How did that pathway develop? How'd you find yourself on that on that road?
Again, I was approached for MEMA, and I was hired to be the president of the aftermarket division, and I spent 7 years with that. And along the way, I was given a responsibility not only for for the aftermarket group, but also for the government advocacy. And I led our DC team for 3 years before being given the CEO job. So I've been in this role for 7 years, 13 years in total with MEMA.
During your time as MEMA's president and CEO, what would you say as you reflect, what are you most proud of in terms of accomplishments?
Well, there are quite a few, actually.
I bet.
2 years ago, we took a big step and transformed MEMA and positioned it for the future. And we took 4 divisions and the brands, if you will, that the membership recognized, and realigned them into 2 divisions, MEMA Aftermarket and MEMA Original Equipment, that provided a lot more access and value to the membership base, to a factor of 2x at a minimum. And then we created, I'll say, best practice departments within MEMA so that we could be more efficient, we could be nimble, we could pivot to the changes that were happening in our industry. And if you look at what MEMA was facing 2 years ago, the industry was facing 2 years ago, the race for electrification,
right?
The technology shifts, the workforce development issues. How could MEMA be organized to best help members address those issues of the future? So that clearly was one, and I think this event, as you've seen the content and 1,500 people registered and things, I think it's a testament to the results and the strategy behind realigning MEMA for the future. So that was one, and I think MEMA has done a great job in getting a seat at the table where decisions are made in Washington, D.C. We have chosen not to fight the battles in the media. No disrespect to the media, but we've found that meeting one-on-one with policymakers, being a trusted advisor, a platform for research and information, has allowed us to be part of the conversation. And we've been actively invited at all levels of the administration to really be a strong voice for the supplier community. And that has paid dividends when NAFTA and USMCA were renegotiated.
Yep.
We had a clear seat at the table for that. And again, as we now address this, I know the tariffs have been painful for many of our members, but the wins that we've had to prevent some of the ideas that have been on the table have saved this industry hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm proud of that legacy, and quite frankly, the succession planning that we've gone through. We have replaced some pretty powerful talent. Julie Freem, who led this group, our original equipment group, and now Colin Shaw, who is not skipped a beat and really helped taking it to another level. Ann Wilson, who led our government affairs for 2 decades.
Retired last year.
Last year, and now Anna Maywissen from Bosch has filled that seat. We hired a new CFO because our previous one had retired after 16 years. And now Paul McCarthy, who led our aftermarket group as president, he actually replaced me when I had that job, is well positioned to fill that spot. So I think MEMA is in a great position with leadership, and we won't miss a beat. I told the board I could have left 6 months ago and nobody would know I was gone.
You also, I would say, your ability to develop new channels to promoting safety, sustainability, innovation, things that at least in my history with the organization, weren't at the forefront of conversation, and now they are. We have a lot of conversations on this program about sustainability and about innovation.
Yeah.
And so I'd venture to say that you've helped guide into new areas that are critical to helping the supply base maintain an advantage in the future.
Yeah, and I think it parallels the needs of the members at the time.
Right.
Certainly innovation was a big part of the investment and the value proposition that they were providing to their customers, particularly OEMs. And sustainability, we had a vision to how do we broaden the remanufacturing circular economy discussion into a broader application. And we had this vision to create the Center for Sustainability that helped promote not just the values that it brings to the environment, but how do you create a strategic advantage from sustainability and a return on investment? And then how do we help members wherever they are in that journey? So if you're just starting, how do you get to, the second, third, fourth, fifth level around the circular economy platform? And we've done that. So the center is another area that we're quite proud of, and certainly the innovation discussion that we've raised, that dialogue and things. So, but we're not done. The unfinished business that I hope will continue. Right now, we can talk, with the industry is facing tariffs to a large degree, and it's made maybe importers into the U.S. less competitive, but it hasn't made U.S. manufacturers more competitive globally. So I have this vision of creating the Center for U.S. Manufacturing Competitiveness globally. And the members that would sit around the table, along with MEMA, would help define what are those barriers. Because every discussion that we're having with the administration on tariffs or reshoring all comes down to U.S. competitiveness.
Right.
We'd make parts here if we could be competitive. And there's two ways to reduce a trade imbalance. One is to buy less, and the other one is to export more. So how do we do that? And I have this view of that I've circulated a little bit around Washington, D.C. I'll let the cat out of the bag, but I think there's an opportunity to suggest to the administration that they create the President's Council on U.S. manufacturing competitiveness. And clearly MEMA would have a seat at that table because we represent the largest sector of manufacturing jobs in the U.S. The other parties around the table certainly would be labor and energy and manufacturing technology and AI. But in every department within the administration, they're all working on a piece of that. USTR or, chamber, the border security pieces, all of that. Everybody's got an individual piece, but there isn't one department that is focused on that particular issue.
There's no collective group, right?
So if we're going to continue to maintain the leadership that we've had and be the apex industry within the United States, how can we create that platform for dialogue for suppliers? And I think President Trump would be interested in being the signature arm to make that happen.
So that's your vision. Is there a role in that for you?
I don't know that there's a personal role for me in it, other than to be on the cheerleader on the sideline. But who knows? It's a big responsibility, and I think MEMA has the opportunity to lead that. And I know Paul will have a lot on his plate, so I'm not advocating to add one more, but
right.
But we're aligned with the need, and now what's the right platform to make that happen?
You've talked about the 3 chapters. What's the 4th chapter?
Yeah, good question. You know, I've been blessed with 4 grandkids that live a mile down the street, and our oldest is a 10-year-old hockey player, Yale youth hockey travel team. We were we were just at a tournament in Buffalo where they played teams from Michigan, Rochester, New York, and Miami, and they won the tournament.
No.
So I think my future role is I'm going to be the Uber hockey driver.
Work the door, maybe.
That's right. But you know, I have no plans at the moment, other than you know, just to kind of recalibrate, spend more time with my family after traveling all the years that I have. Even with IndyCar, it was 250 days a year away from home for 5 years in a row.
Wow.
I've been on a clip of 150 flights a year for decades. Usually when people ask me where I'm from, I tell them the ticket counter is Delta Airlines. So I know I won't miss being at the airport, but I will. You know, I've never been one to rest on my laurels, and my weakness is I've never been satisfied with the job that I have. I've always been eager to find the next challenge. So who knows what that might look like? I'm not. Let's say this: I don't have any offers on the table,
Right.
but I'd be interested in obviously staying involved in contributing in any way that might be helpful or valuable to the industry.
Final thought on the future of MEMA and the future maybe just of the entire supplier ecosystem. You know, there are significant challenges. I've heard some of that here over the course of the last 2 days, particularly in the smaller supply base.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a great question, and I guess I would answer it this way: 60% of MEMA members are companies that are 150 million or less.
Yeah.
So small business is clearly on our radar. 2, MEMA is celebrating its 121st anniversary this year. Started in 1904 in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Holland Inn Hotel, where 16 suppliers had a shared vision that they were stronger together than they were individually. And I think the resilience and the talent that we have in this industry, you know, it wasn't too long ago in February when all the tariffs hit that we said the industry was going to come to a screeching halt within days. And here we are now, you know, 9 or 10 months down the road. And when you talk to a lot of suppliers, they say, you know, business is pretty good despite all the challenges and headwinds. So I think that resilience, that entrepreneurship, the ability to pivot quickly will continue. But I think greater collaboration has been the key word yesterday. As I've shared with Colin and Paul McCarthy, MEMA, I think for the future has the opportunity to be the first one to walk through the door and enable that collaboration. The other key word from Michael Robinette was scenario planning. And I've talked quite a bit about how the industry plans for the broad range of possibilities and how MEMA can help bring clarity to that discussion. And I think MEMA will play a large role in helping to create what those scenarios look like, and also pivot. Instead of now talking about all the pain points and headwinds, we need to be talking about where the opportunities lie and how to get there. That'll be part of that scenario planning. So the industry will change, obviously, as it has. I may have shared with you last time we were together at the Hall of Fame that this past year I went through all the minutes of the board meetings from 1904. Huh. And it is just incredible, the things that suppliers have gone through the past 100 years, through the war years and then the depression and recession, the change in technologies that we've seen, and how they managed and handled that, and the role that MEMA has played in that leadership. So I would just say I'm immensely humbled to have served the industry in this role, knowing those that have built this foundation in the past. So I've been blessed to have this opportunity. Very proud to have served the industry.
And they have been blessed to have you leading them. And thank you so much for all that you've done for the supplier community, for the industry in its totality. And congratulations on
thank you.
Ending Chapter 3. And we greatly look forward to 4.
Well,
what that looks like,
I appreciate
no matter
it,
what, even if it's in a hockey rink somewhere.
And kudos to you. You've been a great partner for MEMA.
Thank you.
How you've helped us, spread the word and achieve some of the goals of bringing clarity. So we value your partnership, and you're doing a great job.
You helped me in my next chapter, so I appreciate
your
that as well.
Friendship means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Long, thank you so much. Thank you.
A very special thanks to my guest, MEMA President and CEO, Bill Long, from the MEMA Annual Conference in Detroit. My name is Jason Stein. Thanks for joining us on this platform. We'll see you again next time.